Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you for being with me again today. Today, I will discuss the interesting developments in East Asia, in the Pacific region, and includes the Solomon Islands, China, Australia, New Zealand, United States, Japan, the Quad, India. It seems to be also involved. And if you do not know, Solomon Islands are located in the Pacific Ocean in the southwest of Pacific Ocean, let's put it this way, by Australia, but not by Australia. It's about 200 kilometers north, a little bit east of Australia. So 2,000 kilometers northeast, which is 1,200 miles northeast. So there's not like this. And that would be, I don't know, 5, 6, I don't know, thousand miles away from the United States or something across the whole Pacific Ocean. So the problem started when China and Solomon Islands started having some better relations than before, and that's not something that the club and the countries in the area approve of. Now remember, Solomon Islands and China are independent sovereign countries, so they can conduct their foreign policy however they wish in an international order that like peace and stability, right? So we have here an article from Associated Press from today, May 24th, 2022, by David Rising. And this is the title: Chinese Foreign Minister to visit Solomon Islands amid security pact worry. Now remember that you can see what direction or what allegiance or what preferences the author has, or the media outlet, by the words used for certain actions or situation. A good connotation, bad connotation, or they try to send you a subliminal message that's a bad thing because you will immediately associate it with something else that happened in the past and has a bad connotation. In this case, we have pact. Now, pact. When, for instance, I hear pact, I hear the non-aggression pact signed between Germany and Soviet Union in 1939 by Ribbentrop and Molotov, and that was a bad pact considering that they had some provisions in there regarding Poland, for instance. But that's how it's a pact. The thing is, when let's say Great Britain has a security meeting and a security agreement with Poland or with Ukraine, or United States has it with other countries, it's not a pact. They will not use the word pact because they don't want you to think of Stalin and Adolf. They want you to think of something beautiful, because it's always beautiful what comes from the other side. So they will not use pact. They will use, as I said, understanding, meeting, something like that. They will find a euphemism, a nice one. It doesn't come to mind right now, but no pact. So I know Mr. David Rising already that he might be going in that direction, but I will see further how what terms he's going to use for certain actions. So, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi will visit Solomon Islands this week in what the South Pacific nation's leader said was a milestone in his country's relationship with China, amid concerns that their new security pact could allow Chinese military personnel on the islands. Security concerns from whom? I tell you because I was already checking this and I made some videos on this. Security concerns by two countries. One is United States and the other one is Australia. Sometimes New Zealand, but in this case Australia, which is, as I said, 2,000 kilometers away from Solomon Islands, and the United States is across the whole Pacific Ocean. So they have concerns because China might put some military troops, or I don't know, installations in Solomon Islands, which is perfectly fine, giving the reason that they are independent sovereign countries, right? And they're so far away from these guys, right? And no, it's not. They're security concerned. They're immediately concerned. Now, change the names of Australia, United States, Solomon Islands, and China with Ukraine, Russia, NATO countries, and United States, and you will see how a country that's bordering another country cannot have security concerns if army or installations will be placed by NATO here. Next, it shouldn't have concerns. But Australia, which is 2,000 kilometers far away from Solomon Islands, or United States, which is even further than that, they have legitimate concerns. So what does that tell you? The same rule is not used in, in both sides here. The Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavare issued a statement, and he said that the partnership, see, that's a different word, with Beijing does not come at the expense of ties with Australia, United States, and others. All right, but they don't believe that. For some whatever reason, they don't believe that Australia and United States, and they have legitimate right not to believe it, right? With Russia, no. And I'm not talking about Russia, because it could have been another country. This is what I don't like. It's not a Russia. Russia is an example, okay? It's an example, clear. The visit of Wang at the head of a 20-person delegation on Thursday and Friday comes amid growing concerns about China's influence in the strategically important Solomon Islands. Did you hear that? I know you did. The strategically important Solomon Islands. Okay, I think China should ask the United States and Australia and everybody else, can you tell me what's not a strategic island that I can go and try to make deals? Can you give me a list? Do you think it's going to be a list? No, because he's not supposed to be there. That's the whole point. Why? Because they said so. But they are. The United States is supposed to be in the area, but these guys are not supposed to be there, which it's unbelievable. So then, and then we have here that the growing concerns. So they're concerned. The United States, who's 4,000 or 5,000 miles away from Solomon Islands, and the other one's 2,000 kilometers or 1,200. All right, so Wang will be the highest ranking Chinese representative to visit the country since the two nations formalized diplomatic relations 32 months ago, the Solomon Islands Foreign Affairs Ministry said, after Sogavare switched recognition from Taiwan to Beijing. Opa. That's a problem here, that they can pick and choose their own understanding and terminology, and they can pursue their own foreign policy. So the Chinese Foreign Ministry said later that Wang would also visit Kiribati, Samoa, Fiji, Tonga, Vanuatu, Papua New Guinea, and East Timor in a 10-day trip. While in Fiji, he will host a meeting with the foreign minister of Pacific Island nations, it says. So yeah, you come to Japan, South Korea, and you got Philippines, you got all those guys over there, and we're not supposed to do anything. This is your status quo. Well, that's not mine. Did you ask me about that? Well, they're an independent country. They can do whatever they want. Okay. And I will counterattack. Remember, China also discussed some security concerns and global security concerns with some Latin American countries. That means they're ready to get there and do something. So you see, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. You can say, well, they're the bad dudes. Why? You do business with them, right? So what's going on? If they're bad dudes, why don't you just, I don't know, I'm just saying, take care of them. Well, you can't, and try to cooperate with them. Or you can't, well, you are cooperating with them. And it says here that it is believed that the meeting will play an important role in promoting solidarity and cooperation between China and the Pacific Island countries, and in advancing the development of our relations. Foreign Minister spokesman Wang Wenbin said in Beijing. All right, so then it says here that Sogavare, who defends the pact is entirely about internal security, said Wang's visit would include the signing of a number of key bilateral agreements. That's not good, right? Um, so Guevara noted that New Zealand delegation was also due in coming months, and that he has hosted high-level visits from Australia, Japan, and the US in April. So yeah, he tried to balance things. And if China can have visits in Solomon Islands, so can Japan, which is next door to China, right? So it's closer actually to maybe United States in distance. And it says, my government welcomes all high-level visits from our key development partners. So Guevara said in a statement posted Tuesday, we will always stand true in our policy of friends to all and enemies to none, as we look forward to continuing productive relations with all our development partners. The news out of the visit came as United States President Joe Biden met in Tokyo with members of the Quad group of nations. What are they doing in Tokyo? Huh? They're close to China. The US, Japan, Australia, and India, which has become increasingly relevant as the US emphasizes security in the Indo-Pacific to counter China's rising influence. Yeah, so we have Albanese, which is the new Australian Prime Minister, the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, in a one-on-one meeting, expressed concerns about China's security pact with Solomon Islands, agreed to strengthen their cooperation and engagement with Pacific Island countries. Did you hear that? Who are those two countries? There was Australia, remember, 2,000 kilometers away from Solomon Islands, and Japan, which has the same distance as China. Why are they more entitled than China? Because they're the good ones. China is the bad one, right? Moral posturing. So then Australia and others had urged the Solomon Islands not to sign the pact with China over concern it could destabilize the country and set a concerning precedent for the wider Pacific region. Yeah, they might join China because you're a bad guy too or something, right? Oh, no. So why don't you let them pick? Why do you pick for them? Because you are the daddy and they're the baby? That's why? Because you're the destabilize that. Why? Maybe you destabilized it by coming over there. But people can't say that because they're going to get it. You know what I mean? Boom. So it says here that Wang, the Chinese spokesman, said China hopes the U.S. will refrain from interfering with the sovereign decision of the South Pacific Island nations on normal cooperation with other countries, end quote. China pushed back last week accusation the pact was being used to pursue countries in the Pacific, which another foreign ministry spokesman, Zhao Liang, or spokesperson, says here, saying it was based on mutual respect and it is conducive to stability and peace in line with shared interest in South Pacific, which is true. And then we have here that Australia claims the Solomon Islands as its backyard and wants to set a red line, Zhao said. Isn't that coercion? So this Zhao said that Australia claims the Solomon Islands as its backyard. What do you mean? And you know what I mean. And wants to set a red line, which it did in like 2 weeks ago when it first heard of this pact. And they said that if there's a red line if China brings military navy or over there, docks it in Solomon Islands, it's a red line. And what are they going to do? They're going to attack China? Unless the United States says go and uses your men to fight the war, and they stay over there, like in Ukraine right now, has the Ukrainian fight the war, and they just, you do this, you do that, get some more money and move this, and he's the general, and the rest are just the peons and on a chess game. The same here, it would be the Australians fighting it, and Americans coming with their navy around. They will not probably get involved, but who knows? But look, we can do this. That's our backyard. And Ukraine was not Russia's backyard. And if not, why not? It was closer. Even as nations, as people are closer than Solomon Islanders and Australians. So what are you talking about? Don't give me the diversity thing in Australia, okay? Because we know how Australia was formed. And we know who formed Australia. So yeah, the diversity, they're the same people. No, they're not. Anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart. We're going to look what's going on over there in in Pacific, and it seems like China is not bowing down, and is not. It's going to go, as I said, with the Latin America and with the Pacific Ocean islands and whomever, foreign, independent, sovereign countries. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.